This time on One Foot Flipper, we look at 8 NES games that you might actually find in the wild that sell for real money. Stay tuned.
One Foot Flipper.
Hey, how's everybody doing? It's Paige here, the One Foot Flipper. Today is January 5th, 2024. It's about noon. My sales year to date are $1,459. I thought today maybe we'd do a research video, mostly because Julie was going to go see her grandma this morning, but I was given no indication as to the time to pick up, so I kind of wasted my whole... I knew I was going to be stuck upstairs outside of my normal work zone for an indeterminate time, so I thought I'm just going to research a video because, see, it's too hard for me to go up and down the stairs. I'm not going to go down the stairs for an hour and then have grandma show up and I have to go back up. It's too difficult. So I thought I'm going to research a video today. So that's what we're going to get into. We're going to look at 8 Nintendo NES games that sell for real money. We're talking $70 and above for the loose cartridges that you actually have a chance of finding in the wild. Because there are plenty of Nintendo games that sell for hundreds of dollars that you'll never see, you've never heard of them, or you might have heard of them, but only because they're ports of arcade games that were extremely rare, or they're extremely rare, only the Nintendo version is, but you'll never see those. These are games that you might actually see. These are games that I remember either owning, renting, or my friends owning them, that you've just got a chance of finding these. And why knowing titles like this can be important is because sometimes you get in those all prices of the same situation. You know those people, there's both eBay sellers who do that, but there's garage sale and flea market vendors. You know, if you walk into the garage sale and every Nintendo game is $20, you're probably not buying any of them unless they're on this list and you just happen to know. If it's on this list, you know you can safely buy that game and make plenty of money. Now, first game we're going to look at is Darkwing Duck. Remember Darkwing Duck, the DuckTales spin-off? Cartoon was really popular, and eventually they came out with a NES game for it. Came out in 1992, which was rather late in the system life. That's going to be a common denominator among many of these games, is that they came out late in the system life after the Super Nintendo came out. Super Nintendo came out in the second half of 1991. But the game was well received. I remember it being in Nintendo Power and several of my friends owning it, so that game is definitely out there. Hey, I sold these Oakley Fall Line goggles for new open box for $113. I got 3 pairs of these from Jimmy the Dolphin Flipper. He picked them up at retail arbitrage at some ridiculously low price, like $10 each or something. And after a few messages back and forth with somebody, I sold the first one at $113. I'm going to relist. I'm only putting them up one at a time since they're brand new Oakleys, and I don't want to show that I have quantity available because I don't want to get into any of that business. So later today, I'll put the next one up. The next NES game that you might find out in the wild is Power Blade. Now, I remember Power Blade as being a lame platformer. I remember renting it once, and then my friend Matt bought it later. Came out in 91, around the same time as the Super Nintendo. It seems to have a little bit of a following today, and there's a much more valuable sequel to it, Power Blade 2, but you're never going to see Power Blade 2 at all. I sold this with honors movie poster for $11.63. I did what I always do with the posters. I messaged the people saying, hey, free shipping if you buy any more posters or paintings. Because I also have paintings that roll up too that don't have frames. People almost never respond to that, but it's always worth a shot because when they do, it can be, hey, bonus sale, right? It can be multiple bonus sales. Because I have had people respond to it, especially on records, and suddenly go nuts. Because normally on my combined shipping with records, I charge an extra $1 for each record. But sometimes if the first one somebody buys is rather valuable, I'll just tell them, hey, free shipping on any more records you want to buy today. And some people will take advantage of that. Future page here, the guy I sent the posters out to just went nuts buying stuff. He bought a whole bunch more posters and several other things, about $140 more worth of stuff. Now, I'm not sure if he misunderstood it and thought it was free shipping on everything, but Luckily, everything he bought does seem to be smaller than 4 inches, so I might indeed be able to get all this other stuff in with the poster boxes. Those sales themselves, I'll just put on my next video, but I thought I'd put that in there that, yep, the message did work. All right, next game we're going to look at here is RC Pro-Am 2. Now, I think everybody remembers RC Pro-Am. I loved it. I had it. It was one of the first games that I got for when I finally got my Nintendo. And great game, and it has a sequel. And this is starting a trend on this list of later sequels that came out later to games that completionists feel like they need to have. Because this didn't come out until 1992. I don't remember playing it very much, but several magazines said it was better than the original. But maybe I only rented it once and I never really got into it. Next thing I sold is a Nintendo DSi XL Super Mario Bros. 25th Anniversary Edition with charger. $75, and it sold in less than 1 day. I actually have multiple Game Boys that I'm putting up, and I picked these years ago when I was attempting to collect physical video games. There was a consignment store that mostly featured regular items and not electronics or video games, but I would notice sometimes when they got a Game Boy in, they just put it up with all the games that came with it, and they put it in a bag, and it would be sitting there on the counter for $20 every time. And I probably bought 15 Game Boys over a course of about 6 months until they started actually looking up what they were worth. Most of the rest of them I traded off to my friends years ago, but I've still got 3 or 4 of them that I'm starting to sell now. Okay, our next game here is going to probably be familiar to any of you who had a Nintendo. It's going to be Mega Man, but it's going to be the first Mega Man. Most of you who had the Nintendo and played, you're going to remember starting with Mega Man 2. Mega Man 2, in my opinion, is the best game in the Mega Man series, but it also vastly outsold Mega Man 1, and I believe so did quite a few of the sequels. So people who are collecting that Mega Man series have got to pay premium for this first one that came out back in 1987. So yes, not every game on this list came out later. I sold a stack of 6 vintage aviation magazines, $25.74. That is more money than I paid for the entire lot of aviation magazines that's paid for itself many times over, and I still have plenty of them left. All right, our next game on the list is another game in a series that might be familiar, Ninja Gaiden 3, The Ship of Doom. 1991 sequel. It's a great game, but it suffered from being released a week before the Super Nintendo came out. Now, the kind of well-off families that are going to buy a game at release like this automatically, they're probably instead going to buy that Super Nintendo the next week and leave the Nintendo behind. That was a problem for all games that came out in August 91, September 91, or later, but I feel like it especially affected the games that came out at the exact same time, because when that store ad came out, you saw Super Nintendo and giant photo up here in the corner, and you saw Ninja Gaiden 3 right down here at the bottom. Which one is the family with money going to buy? You're going to buy the Super Nintendo. I sold a Pokemon, a Jolteon card. Normally I don't show the cards, but I've got a few cards that are on my normal eBay store instead of the card store because I just recently found some, and it sold for $3 whole. Yay. Actually not bad considering I sell record albums for $3 all the time and show those. Okay, our next NES game, you might actually find out in the wild, Dragon Warrior 3. I think everybody remembers Dragon Warrior and Dragon Warrior 2, but Final Fantasy came along, and I believe, to me, that was far better than the Dragon Warrior series, and that was what I was into for the rest of my NES days. This one didn't come out until 1992, which was 3 years later in America than it came out in Japan. It came out after the Super Nintendo. And the sort of older gamers who are into these complicated RPGs, most of them probably had already spent their lawn-mowing money on a Super Nintendo. At least I know I already had. Okay, I sold the last 2 of my Magic the Gathering Life Counters. Total of $25.98. So I've said in the other videos, it's the power of having the best price. This is a popular item that I got quantity of, and I sold out of my quantity of 15 or 20 or whatever of them that I had in 3 weeks by being 10 cents cheaper and getting 100% of the sales. Next game up, Dragon Warrior 4. Same issues as Dragon Warrior 3, except it was even a little bit further into the Super Nintendo era, and it came out in the same calendar year as Dragon Warrior 2. Now, those games like that were $60 and $1992. It's about $130 today. And most kids who even had that kind of money, or their parents did, they're not going to buy them Dragon Warrior 4 when they just got Dragon Warrior 3 4 months ago. Not happening. But the game's still out there. You still see it. I remember friends having it, so it's definitely out there somewhere. I sold 6 Christmas ornaments, Jolly Jingles. Sold these for $39.84. The Christmas ornament sales were terrible late November, early December, but they've picked up like a rocket since Christmas is over. I don't know if everybody else turned off their promoted listings on Christmas ornaments or what, but they are selling continually now. Okay, last game on our list here is going to be Mega Man 5. Now, what hurt Mega Man 5 was a truly genius release date. December 29th, 1992. Yep. 4 days after Christmas. Think about that. You want to release a game that should be popular and have it come out 4 days after Christmas. Yep, you've missed Christmas for all those kids who didn't get a Super Nintendo this Christmas or the Christmas before, and now you've just got to sell through the low. Got to hope that it sells in the beginning of the year, middle of the year, when people are spending money on other things. No, instead, it just didn't sell all that well, and Mega Man 6 came out later. Mega Man 6 is much cheaper than Mega Man 5 because I believe it sat on that shelf space from the day it came out until people stopped carrying NES games, while Mega Man 5 stopped being on the shelf the minute Mega Man 6 came out. All right. If you know anybody who obsesses over NES games, why don't you tell them about this channel? I could certainly use the subscribers. Thanks. Hope to see you again soon.